The story of Project Hail Mary begins with Dr. Ryland Grace, a middle school science teacher in the United States, teaching students from 5th to 8th grade. But suddenly, we see him wake up from a coma inside a spaceship. He finds himself in the medical bay, along with 2 other crew members. However, both of them are already dead. For some unknown reason, Grace is the only survivor. Confused and disoriented, he starts asking himself, "How did I get here? Why am I in space?" The strange part is, he remembers nothing. To answer these questions, the story takes us into a series of flashbacks. And through those flashbacks, we slowly begin to understand what really happened. Even though Grace has lost most of his memory, he can still recognize basic things and scientific concepts. This hints that he's not an ordinary person. Soon, he checks the ship's data and realizes something shocking. He is extremely far away from Earth. After calculating the distance and speed, he finds out that it would take around 113 years to return home. Now the big question is, why was a school teacher sent into space? As the flashbacks continue, we learn that Grace wasn't just a teacher. He was actually a molecular biologist in the past. One day in class, his students ask him about a terrifying news report. That the world might end within the next 30 to 40 years. Grace explains that a mysterious microorganism called astrophage, also known as the Star Eater, has started consuming the sun's energy. And it's not just our sun, it's affecting other stars as well. If this continues, the sun will gradually lose its energy. And Earth will become colder and colder, eventually turning into a frozen planet where life cannot survive. Hearing this, the students become scared, but Grace tries to calm them down. He tells them that the best scientists in the world are already working on a solution. And hopefully, they will find a way to stop it soon. Thus back in the present, Grace is completely alone on the spaceship. There's no one to talk to, no one to help him. He just eats, sleeps, and tries to survive while slowly piecing together his lost memories. Then the story takes us back into another flashback. We are introduced to a woman named Eva Stratt, a high-ranking official connected to NASA and the leader of a critical mission called Project Hail Mary. She visits Grace at his school and tells him that she has read his research. In it, Grace claimed that life cannot exist without water, but Eva challenges that idea. She takes him to a secure research facility and shows him something unbelievable. A mysterious microorganism collected from Venus. This organism, later known as astrophage, doesn't consume food like normal life forms. It literally feeds on light. When scientists test it in the lab, they confirm something shocking. It is a living organism that can survive without water. At that moment, Grace realizes that his earlier theory was completely wrong. Life can exist in ways humans never imagined. Because of his knowledge, Eva recruits Grace into the mission. She takes him to a top-secret base in the middle of the ocean, where the world's best scientists are working together. Everyone there respects Grace, because he quickly understands things that others struggled with for years. Then we learn about the real plan. The scientists want to grow millions of astrophage organisms. Grace is confused. What could they possibly do with something so dangerous? Eva then explains the mission. A nearby star system, one that astrophage cannot consume, might hold the key to saving our sun. So their plan is to send a spaceship there, release astrophage, and study why it fails to survive in that environment. If they can understand that, they might be able to stop the astrophage from destroying the sun. But there's a massive problem. That star system is light years away from Earth. However, astrophage itself becomes the solution. It turns out that this organism can store and release an enormous amount of energy, far more powerful than any fuel humans have ever created. Using this, scientists develop a new propulsion system called the spin drive, capable of pushing a spaceship at incredible speeds. Now the mission becomes possible, but there's a dark truth behind it. This journey is a one-way trip. The astronauts will travel to that distant star, collect the necessary data, and send it back to Earth using a small probe. But they themselves will never return. And when Grace realizes this, everything changes. Using astrophage as fuel, the spaceship can reach the target star in about 3 years and 9 months. But because they're traveling at an extremely high speed, something strange happens. Time doesn't pass the same way for them as it does on Earth. While only a few years pass for the astronauts, more than a decade passes on Earth. This is due to a concept called time dilation. When you move close to the speed of light, time slows down for you compared to others. So by the time they return, decades could have passed on Earth, which means everything might be completely different. Back in the present, Grace slowly starts remembering everything. He gives a proper farewell to his crewmates, Yao and Delukina, and releases their bodies into space, now truly alone. He continues the mission, but then something unexpected appears. A strange object floating in space. At first, Grace thinks it might be a threat, maybe even an enemy spacecraft. So he tries to move away, but the object follows him and stops near his ship. The tension rises. Suddenly, the alien ship launches a small capsule toward him. Grace panics. He thinks it could be a bomb, but nothing happens. After hesitating for a moment, he decides to take a risk. For the first time, he puts on a spacesuit and steps outside the ship. He's terrified because he's not a trained astronaut, just a teacher forced into this mission. Still, he gathers his courage, retrieves the capsule, and brings it inside. After examining it, he discovers something incredible. Inside the capsule is a map of space. The alien has marked its own home planet called Adrian along with other important points. Realizing this is an attempt at communication, Grace responds. He sends back his own information about Earth and the human solar system. This becomes the beginning of first contact. Then something even more surprising happens. The alien ship creates a bridge-like structure, connecting directly to Grace's ship. Now there's no turning back. With hesitation and fear, Grace decides to cross over. And when he finally sees the alien, he's shocked. The creature doesn't look anything like a human. It has a hard, rock-like body, completely different from any life form on Earth. At that moment, Grace realizes something profound. Life in the universe doesn't follow a single rule. Every planet can create its own kind of life.